Hello all, Rick here looking into a non-canon vessel from Star Trek. It's long been noted that there are relatively few vessels seen from the original series era, with only the Constitution and Daedalus class starships seen from Starfleet, while smaller ships like the J-class appeared from the Federation overall. While we get to see plenty of alien designs, it would have been great to get some more variety from the UFP. Everything was another Constitution. For its part, Strange New Worlds has been adding newer ship styles like the Farragut, and apocryphal sources have been continuing to create official designs to flesh out the fleets like Star Trek Online's Pioneer. As viewers, we're just expected to assume that we never saw them in Star Trek, and that by sheer coincidence we only ever saw Constitution vessels. I'm gullible, so alright then. Perseus is derived from Greek mythology as the demigod hero who slew the Gorgon Medusa and saved Andromeda from the Cetus. There's also the constellation Perseus, and both naming origins are reflected in sister designs from the era, the Daedalus and Gemini. The Perseus class was designed for Star Trek Online as part of the Agents of Yesterday expansion, which saw the introduction of temporal operatives, recruited from the 23rd century and brought into 2409 to monitor and protect the STO timeline. Alongside it were the Ranger, Daedalus and Gemini classes, all continuations of the original series style and essentially frequently witnessed layouts for Federation ships. You can practically take any of these ships and equate them to a similar ship from a different era, although they serve different roles. In terms of the overall design, the ship feels very nautical to me, looking like a submarine with a Star Trek saucer through it and nacelles. In universe, however, we have the origin of the Perseus class based on the success of the Constitution design and emerging at the tail end of this stage of Starfleet design before they moved into the aesthetic seen more in the motion picture era, heralded in by the Oberth, Miranda and Constitution refit program. Basically, these are some of the final ships to come from this era less than 5 years before Starfleet began to overhaul its fleet. The vessel was designated an Escort class, making it an early iteration of vessel designed for that preferred role of Starfleet ship. Before, most ships were considered cruisers, even those made primarily for combat, but the sleeker, smarter and faster Escort class was finding success as Starfleet began to pivot. That being said, cruisers still reigned supreme in the fleet overall. The interior space is overall tighter and more reserved, with less facilities for science and diplomacy missions. It looks to have around 10 to 12 decks. The Perseus class is most known for its pioneering of the M6 computer system, developed after the failure of the M5 Multitronic unit in 2268. With the launch of the USS Perseus in 2270, it's likely that this class of starship was slated to receive the new M5 until the fatal testing that occurred involving the USS Enterprise. Instead, the Perseus received the next generation of multitronic systems, which were faster and could handle greater complexity than the standard duotronic systems of the time. A multitronic system was complex enough for a starship to basically pilot itself. However, the common failure point of multitronic systems was that smart nature. Unlike duotronic systems, they were essentially unlimited when it came to processing and AI behaviour. However, the more complex and evolved they became, the more unstable they were until they ultimately collapsed. For this reason, even the M6 system was dropped in favour of isolinear technology down the road. But for this brief window in the late 23rd century, the boundaries of computing were being tested. This system was mostly utilised in tactical situations, for strategic planning and designing combat scenarios. To aid in this, the vessel displayed numerous sensor domes, the two classic shapes on the saucer for planetary sensors, but also two more rear domes for increased security. The vessel was designed to undertake patrol missions, and equipped to handle trouble at the cost of some versatility. As such, it was armed with 4 forward-facing phaser cannons, a relatively new innovation that sacrificed field of fire for higher yield blasts. It also had phaser arrays and 4 photon torpedo launchers, 2 rear and 2 fore. The launchers are tucked into recesses under the saucer. To make up for the manoeuvrability needed to bring the phaser cannons to bear, the Perseus had 4 impulse engines, making it nimble enough to fly circles around most other cruisers of the era like the Klingon D7. The nacelles were basically the same as the Constitution class, and that ship had a similar warp capability, with a cruising speed of warp 7 and a maximum of warp 9 on the older scale. Although it had less power than the Constitution, its reserved profile made up for this. There was a single rear shuttle bay that again was based on the Constitution class's style, with the large shutter and overlooking control room. Now, in STO lore, this is also classified as a temporal escort, meaning it routinely undertook time travel missions, and it was relatively closely linked to the Theseus class. In fact, the Theseus from the 26th century could change its very hull to resemble the Perseus to disguise itself on missions. I really like these handful of ships, and they join a myriad of other designs from books, games, TTRPGs set in this era that all aimed to flesh out the Federation fleet. The Pioneer, from a similar time, has since graduated into canon, so perhaps one day we can see more STO designs move into prime timeline continuity, and we can collectively assume they were always there because frankly they do look cool. I've been Rick, thanks for watching this breakdown on the Perseus class, and until the next one, goodbye.